Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by Fred and Lou Hartwig and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly, and our topics tonight: the new council takes another look at KCI, Steve Rose takes another look at Governor Brownback, and a look at presidential politics tells us outsiders are now in, plus roast and toast. But we start with our Newsmaker segment and talk with former and current Kansas City, Missouri Councilwoman Catherine Shields. Ms. Shields was first elected to the council in 1987, serving until 1994. The next year, she successfully ran for Jackson County Executive and remained in that position until 2006. Now she's back on the council after winning a tight race earlier this year against incumbent Jim Glover. Councilwoman Shields, welcome to Ruckus. It is nice to see you again, Catherine.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You're from the 4th District. You were elected at large citywide.
Yes.
Roughly where is the 4th District?
The 4th District runs from the west boundary state line. The east is approximately Troost, 59th Street through downtown, over into northeast, and then it even takes in part of Briar Cliff, north of the river now.
How do you like being back on the city council after being gone for several years?
I like it. I enjoy it. I'm a person, I like to sit down with other people and figure out how to address problems and get solutions. So well, I'm enjoying it.
Let's talk about a problem that may need solutions soon, and that's Kansas City International Airport.
Right.
You attended a meeting the other day of the new airport committee appointed by the mayor. You're not a member, but you were interested. You said you're going to keep going to the meetings and stay in tune with what's happening. What are the council members on that committee talking about?
Well, I think we just, everybody was listening to a presentation from the Director of Aviation, and it was basically just a kind of a summary saying essentially that we need to tear down the three terminals and build a new. And I think the council was just beginning to ask questions about that. The chair, Jolie Justice, made it very clear that we needed to have a lot of information before anybody on that committee was ready to jump on the let's tear everything down.
And ultimately that has to go to the general public for a vote, does it not?
It does. That's my understanding, yes.
Southwest Airlines, the biggest tenant at KCI and obviously influential, says it would cost more to renovate than to rebuild. Now, you've dealt with a lot of public projects. Does that strike you as counterintuitive?
Well, I will tell you on the stadiums, if you will recall, in 2006, in the spring, we got a successful vote to renovate the two stadiums. And we did that. We replaced plumbing, electricity, all of the internal systems. And we ended up saving probably about $1 billion over what it would have cost.
Well, that's a substantial saving.
That's a substantial
So you're saying renovating the stadiums was cheaper than trying to rebuild them at that time?
Massively cheaper.
Now, when you ran for the city council not that long ago, what did people say to you about KCI? Is that a topic on top of the head?
It's a huge topic. I have discussed with both the mayor and the city manager that it's my impression from talking to people that they do not want to see just one terminal. They want, if there are improvements that need to be made to the existing terminals, then we should make them.
Well, people who are concerned about this stress convenience.
Right.
Is it not possible to have a new airport and have it to be convenient also?
I think that is possible, although once you go into one center place, then you're spiking out from there. I think there's a lot of issues that remain open, and the only worry I have, and I gather that people on the committee have, is it appears that certainly the Director of Aviation is moving only in one direction. And
he wants a new airport.
And yes, and my sense is the incoming council wants to look at all the options. Well,
if I understand correctly, he told that committee, we don't have any cost data that we can share with you, hard cost data. Why would he not have that by now?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, why hasn't Southwest Airlines given the council the cost data?
Right. There's a lot of open questions, and I think this is a very good committee that the mayor's appointed. It's got some very sharp people on it. I'm just sort of auditing the class, so to speak. But I think they're going to do the work that's needed so that the public has the answers that they need to make an intelligent vote.
All right, a couple of quick questions. Downtown streetcar system,
Right.
Are you happy about that?
Well, it's here. It's almost, the construction part is almost completed, if not totally completed. Obviously, there's a little delay in getting the cars, and that can be troublesome, but I have to say I've never known a construction project where there aren't delays somewhere.
But you think it'll be a successful economic development tool once
Well,
it
that's
starts?
what I'm hoping. I mean, the statistics we're being given is that we already have people moving in and building and constructing things that, based on the fact that the streetcar is being built.
Time will tell.
I think time will tell. That's
Finally,
right.
you ran unsuccessfully for mayor once before.
I
It looks
did.
like there'll be an opening in 2019.
Yeah.
Any interest?
Well, I never say no, but I haven't formed my campaign committee yet.
Not this early, huh? All right, thank you very much. Good to see you again. Appreciate you coming in.
Good to see you.
That is Kansas City, Missouri Councilwoman Catherine Shields. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Cynthia Wheeler is a marketing strategist. Steve Rose is a Johnson County civic leader and a columnist with the Kansas City Star. Patrick McInerney is a former prosecutor, now in private practice with Denton's. And Crosby Kemper III is director of the Kansas City Library System and host of KCPT's Meet the Past. Just renominated for an Emmy, a Mid-America Emmy Award. Congratulations to you, your staff at the
Thank you. I'm
library.
practicing my usual speech. It's an honor just to be nominated.
And also to Kevin Lambie of our staff here at KCPT, who also produces the Ruckus program, or works on the production of Ruckus. A couple of weeks ago, it appeared the argument over KCI's future had ended. Although it seemed counterintuitive, Southwest Airlines, the airport's largest tenant, said it would cost more to renovate than to rebuild, and that seemed to end the discussion. But newly elected City Councilwoman Jolie Justice, chair of the Airport Committee, said she and other new council members wanted more answers before asking city voters to give okays to the massive project. She wants some hard data on costs for both remodeling and rebuilding. So does this new development suggest that consensus on building a new airport, as Southwest Airlines seem to suggest, is far from being a done deal? Crosby?
Well, Mike, we have to go back to the beginning of this and remember what the city and particularly the Airport Authority have told us through the last 3 years. The TSA was very unhappy because they had more TSA people than all three New York airports combined. The EPA had a mandate on de-icing. Somehow that related to the terminal. The airport, the airlines wanted this thing, and they had talked to the airlines. Airport funds were inviolable. Page 179 of the current city budget is in the 6th year of paying back a $10 million loan to the city. Integrity hasn't actually been a watchword at the Airport Authority, transparency and accountability. And they're basing this on some numbers that they say they already have, and a consultant's report that they already apparently have, but that they can't release to us for at least another 4 months. It'll be 6 months since they released this decision that they've made, because things change daily, I quote them. This is pretty bizarre that they can't release this. Kansas City, as a city, apparently is not. Sunshine laws and other laws apparently don't apply in the metro area.
So, Patrick, it seems there's not a consensus on what to do about the future of KCI.
Well, I don't think with a brand new city council this process was coming to a close or even stalling out. I mean, what would you expect this council to do, particularly with a chair like Jolie Justice? Of course they're going to ask questions, and of course they're going to want to see details. Councilwoman Shields just talked about the hunger for some knowledge, some numbers, some data, and you're talking about a brand new council, so that's exactly what you would expect. And if you look at the information that was provided the other day by the aviation department, by city staff, and by the airlines, there are big discrepancies between the needs and what we have to offer. Some of it, we have a glut of space in some respects. We have way too little space in other respects. So when you put some numbers and put some color around those things, that's what you want the council to analyze.
Steve, how could this have been going on for so long, all this discussion about KCI, all this study, and still no financial data available?
Well, there's financial data that I think is there. I just don't think it's been made public. I mean, Southwest Airlines came out and said that in fact it's going to be cheaper to build a new airport, which is what they've said, you know, that certainly got my attention. I've been a proponent of keeping the airport and remodeling it because it is the most convenient airport in North America. But if Southwest Airlines, that controls 40% of the flight, says we want a single terminal airport, and if it turns out to be true that the cost, in fact, would be better spent to build a new airport, then I would have to take a second look at it. The problem is they've got to sell this to the public. And that's why the council is going through the steps they're going through right now. They've got to build a case, because if they don't have that nailed down, the people will have a knee-jerk reaction against the idea of building a single terminal, which is going to inevitably be, no question, has to be less convenient than the one we've got.
And we don't know what's going to happen to terminals B and C.
And we don't know that also.
Cynthia, you travel a lot.
Well, I do travel a lot, and I am in and out, and there are some, you know, areas that I find frustrating. But what percent of Kansas City use the airport? So yesterday I had the pleasure of speaking directly with Jolie, and she said that the committee is committed to examining all options, and that they do not have the numbers there, you know, to say this is what we're going to do. Is it the status quo? She really didn't say to me that this is the status quo, we are doing A. She said we are examining all, and we need to be...
Because this is complicated stuff.
It is complicated,
this is not walking from your car straight onto a plane
but
anymore.
what comes first? I said this the last time we talked. Does the airport come first? What about city infrastructure?
Right.
So she addressed some of those issues as well. You know, the streets need to be repaired. We have bridges that are falling down. We are building a huge convention center hotel. How are these people going to get here? Is it going to be convenient? I mean, there are a whole host of questions that she is still waiting for some answers, and no decision will be made. And she wanted the city to know that these will be paid for by user fees. So is it 12%?
It doesn't take money out of the city budget.
Yeah, it doesn't take money out of the city budget, and that's key, and that, I think, is what's going to drive messaging.
And here we are all the way through all four of us, and now we're finally getting to that, and that's a critical point.
Well, one of the other is going to happen someday, either a renovation or rebuilding.
But it is a cost to citizens who use the airport.
Yeah.
But what percentage? 12, 20, 30%?
And think about what they expect, too. They expect amenities that they see in Denver and see in St. Louis and see everywhere else they fly, and we don't have those, so those expectations are
But
way down.
the J.D. Powers passenger survey says it's the most popular, the most satisfying airport in the country its size.
And passenger travel has increased at KCI, I believe, over the last several years.
Well, no, actually, we have the same number of employments as we had in 2000.
Well, it hasn't increased.
This year, it's increased.
This year, it's increased
1.5%.
Anyway, we'll move on to another topic. When I opened last Sunday's Star and turned to Steve Rose's column, this headline jumped off the page. Let's now praise Kansas Governor Sam Brownback. Thinking this might have been sarcastic, I plunged into the article and found, much to my amazement, that it was a serious document, suggesting that the much maligned Kansas Republican governor has established policies that may, and in some cases already have, benefited his state and constituents. So, Steve, how did this epiphany occur in your life?
Well, actually, Mike, I was giving a speech, and after the speech, somebody asked me a question, said, how come a majority of the Kansans, which it was a plurality of Kansans, voted and re-elected this man, and we never read one good thing about him? Why is that perspective never portrayed in a newspaper or television or anywhere else? And I thought about it, and I think he was absolutely right. And so what I attempted to do was to present the view of those who voted for Sam Brownback. And he has been maligned in some areas. There's no question. I've lost a lot of friends over this column, by the way. But I still like you. As long as Cynthia still likes me, I'm in good shape.
Still like
Not your conservative friend.
I don't agree with the massive tax cuts, but to say that it's been a failure this soon is not responsible. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. On K through 12, there has not been the slashing and cutting that everybody said there was going to be. In fact, with the additional funding of the retirement plan capers, we've actually added money into public education, K through 12, and on higher ed. I think that's the area where the governor has really stepped forward. He campaigned on the fact that higher ed would not be cut under his administration, and he's held it steady while Scott Walker in Wisconsin lopped off $250 million off the University of Wisconsin.
Steve, you presented some positive aspects to Brownback's actions as governor. Why do you think there's been no coverage of those aspects in the Star and other area publications?
because what he has done is very, very dramatic. And you would even say radical. I mean, certainly the tax cuts have been extraordinarily radical. And I think he did some things early on, like cutting aid for the arts. That was a silly thing to do. Created an impression and an image of him that later it was backed off. But I think it was the massive tax cuts alone that have triggered a reaction, a violent reaction from the press, from the media, from those who are opposed to the idea of major tax cuts.
The Star's editorial board's been blinded by rage?
I don't know if they've been blinded by rage, but I would say that the community that I feel Brownback's tax cuts have affect are those on a lower economic level. And I'm not talking about the people that were supposed to be keeping off the rolls and taking advantage of services. I'm talking about individuals with disabilities. I'm talking about people who cannot work. And I think where his cuts have really hurt, it affects. It's like if it touches his sister or his mother or his best friend, you feel the pain. And they start talking. And they start speaking.
Steve, you get a lot of credit for this.
I like that art. I mean, I like the fact, yeah.
And I think, in terms of, you looked and you found, right? And I understand that. But I don't know why we're talking about this. Because what overwhelms that conversation, and even the good points that you made, are the gigantic elephants in the state of Kansas. The enormous budget deficit, the cuts to education, the departure of, 3,200 teachers from that state? Why aren't we talking about that? And I understand your need to take a look at those things, and like I said, good column. But it seems to me that the more pertinent issues are those issues on the ground, like Cynthia's talking about, cuts that affect real people every day, children, women who are single moms, women who are lower income. That's what we ought to be talking about.
The Kansas budget's right in the middle of budgets in the United States, and as Steve points out, the per pupil expenditure in Kansas is right in the middle in the United States. Hasn't really been cut. We'd be third in the world if we were a country in terms of per pupil expenditure. So this 3,200 teacher thing, I don't get. It's not related to the budget, Pat.
But if you look at per pupil spending and segregate out what comes from the school districts themselves as opposed to the state, there you find a difference. And just recently,
the total average of Kansas per pupil spending is right in the middle in the United States.
And just recently, Brownback is trying to take credit for district-raised funds in Tonganoxie and other places, Johnson County, in order to try to balance that out.
If I were him, I wouldn't, because most of the district-raised funds, of course, are capital projects, usually football stadiums. I remember when my kids were at Lawrence Public Schools, and they were firing school librarians and spent $20 million on a new Free State football stadium. I think that's a bogus argument too. Kansas school finance was screwed up, as Steve pointed out, by the 1992 and subsequent Supreme Court.
Patrick, now you know why we're talking about it. It generates a lot of interesting discussion, and we do have to move on. Only 6 men have become president with no previous experience in elective office. The 6 are Washington, Hoover, Grant, Eisenhower, Taylor, and Taft. Some now think next year's election may move the total to 7, with the growing strength of businessman Donald Trump, who continues to lead the race for the GOP presidential nomination. Other so-called non-politicians in the chase are former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina and famed neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson. Political analysts and commentators remain dismayed by the growing appeal of outsiders in the political process, and they think Trump's popularity will fade when the first primaries and caucuses grow closer early next year. Do you think they're right, Cynthia?
Let me grab my cross. Let me grab my cross. I think that we are in an unusual situation. I think we have a society that is disenfranchised with the status quo as it relates to politics, and those who are the insiders who have been there, the regimes like the Clintons and the Bushes, and this history of insiders who come in and do nothing. And here's this refreshing example of someone who is maybe brash and aggressive, but he says what he thinks. And all of a sudden, everybody's grabbing hold of that and saying, oh, he's being honest, and oh, he's refreshing, and it's not the status quo, but yet we're going to build a wall to keep the Mexicans out. And he makes
Mexican rapists.
Well, but he makes other statements that I have to say that I am
illegal immigrants.
He wants to keep those illegal Canadians out too and build a 5,000-mile fence.
Well, but I have to say what I find scary about the Trumps of the world is we give him a pass by saying that he's refreshing and he's saying things, but yet he turns around in the next statement and says, but I get along with the Asians and the blacks.
Well,
That's like me saying to Steve, I don't like you because you're Jewish, but because I said it in a nice way, it's acceptable. It's still frightening.
Is that why you're wearing the cross today?
No, I'm wearing the cross because you made me talk about Trump, and that to me is frightening. Well, look, at some point, we need to stop talking about him and start
Cynthia,
talking
you didn't
about
answer my question. The insiders, the analysts, the commentators who've dealt with these kind of issues for years say his popularity is going to fade come the first of the year and the caucuses.
Here's my thing. I don't know if I can say his popularity is going to fade because he is tapping into a type of energy in this country that we haven't seen for years that has bubbled to the surface.
What was Ross Perot?
I was just going to say, isn't he a new face on Ross Perot?
He's even more aggressive, I think, and acceptable than Ross Perot because we have continued to. He is far more appealing and entertaining. He is
more entertaining.
He's an entertainer.
Ross Perot ran as a third-party candidate.
I would encourage
Donald Trump's running as a Republican. There is a huge difference. This country would never accept a third-party candidate, but they may accept Donald Trump. I mean, this guy may be for real. In the beginning, I thought he was.
Not.
Unless in the beginning, even after the first debate, I said, this guy is gone. There's no way he's gone. As the days have progressed and the things that he has said have been digested, and the fact that he continues to climb in the polls tells me that this is not somebody you want to just dismiss.
No.
This is somebody that could really be there.
But on the other side of that, you've got to have somebody, if people are running from somewhere, they've got to run to somewhere. And on the other side of that, it's a mess right now because the Clinton campaign can't get a message straight. They whiffed on the opportunity to address the email issue way up front. And right now she's doing silly things like talking about wiping servers and talking about releasing emails. This is going to be death by 7,000 cuts because what she's done is handed this Benghazi committee.
Who then?
Well, then that's the gigantic question. So does Joe Biden get into this race?
Do you hope so?
I think there's a 2 or 3 week window from today, as we sit here Thursday,
I agree with you.
for him to either get in or say he's not.
Let me guess you're a Democrat, Cynthia.
I am.
Would you like to see Vice President Biden jump in?
No. Not from a strategic
You're sticking with Hillary?
I'm not sticking with Hillary. I never said I was
with
Hillary.
If you were Joe Biden,
I never said I was with him.
Bernie Sanders?
You know, Bernie Sanders, by the way, he's the same as an outsider, even though he's been in public life his entire life. But he's coming as a socialist out of nowhere and is building crowds of tens of thousands of people.
He's been in Congress for years. He's not out of nowhere.
Yeah, but look, if you're Joe Biden, you get into this race. If you're Joe Biden, what's your calculation? Your calculation.
If he doesn't this time, he never can.
No,
this is the last
my
chance.
Positives are 78%.
If he wants to be president, this is his last chance.
God love him.
Crosby, are there some Republicans you find attractive?
No, I understand that.
Goes straight
down. Well, if we're talking about character, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both lose. If we're talking about the school of resentment, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders win. If we're talking about character, Ben Carson wins. Okay. But what we're going to ultimately talk about when we get to January and February is pragmatism with principle. I like Marco Rubio from that point of view in the Republican Party, and I wish Rand Paul could get his message out. He's had a hard time doing that.
He's the only libertarian.
Crony capitalism is probably the core of both Bernie Sanders' popularity and Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is a crony capitalist and the missing Kardashian.
Got to stop you guys there. We're out of time.
Not having any fun.
It is time now for Roast and Toast, where the Ruckheads offer a high five or a low blow to people and events in the news, and we start this time with Crosby.
So I'd like to give a toast to the Lyric Opera and the Kansas City the UMKC Conservatory. They're starting a residence artist program with a man named Vincent Cole, who is a Kansas City guy who became one of the great international opera singers. He's kind of unknown in Kansas City. They're going to start this program, and along with Joyce DiDonato, who's been friendly to both institutions, we're going to create Kansas City as a center of voice in America. And so kudos to Deborah Sandler at the opera and Peter Whitty at UMKC, and especially to Vincent Cole, a great singer.
Cynthia.
My toast is to the Black Community Fund Board for their support of Daily Deeds, which is a Kansas City-based app that allows anyone to be a philanthropist and donate to organizations here in Kansas City in need. Kudos.
Patrick.
Mike, my roast is of anybody, media, anyone otherwise, who is given 5 seconds of credit to the Kentucky clerk who's refused to follow the law. What anybody who makes her a martyr doesn't understand is that we have a rule of law in this country. And that's what you're hearing finally from some of the middle of the GOP, and that's what we ought to hear. That's what all of us ought to agree on.
The lady who refuses to grant marriage licenses
Despite
to gay
the orders,
couples and now to no one,
despite the
who wants
order
to
of the
get married.
Supreme Court, right?
And finally, Steve?
Well, as you know, the next GOP debate is September 16th, and Carly Fiorina was not going to be on it because some old rules that CNN had in place. They have stepped forward and fortunately changed their rules, and now she will be able to be on it, and it will be based on current polling rather than old polling.
All right, and finally, here's a toast to the Daily Caller for featuring the 20 dumbest college classes in America. My favorite, the sociology of Miley Cyrus. From Disney tween to twerking machine, Miley has grown up in the public eye, trying on and discarding very different identities on screen and off. The course covers issues of intersectionality theory, looking at race, class, and gender, using Miley as a lens through which to explore sociological thinking about identity, entertainment, media, and fame. This is offered at Skidmore, where the annual tuition is $63,000. And that's Ruckus for this week. We're back next Thursday at 7. Now, on behalf of the Ruckettes and the crew, I'm Mike Shannon saying thanks very much for watching and good night.